I read you're not numb. You're feeling everything
Mm-hmm.
that feels numb, but your body knows your emotions, but when it feels them all at once, it doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt. Are you someone who has brain fog? Maybe you're really tired all day, but then super wired, can't sleep at night. Maybe you're having trouble losing weight and you think it's got to be my hormones. Well, it may not be. So welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about, is it hormones or is it burnout? Yes, your stress, your burnout can almost mimic what a hormonal imbalance looks like. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. So I was listening to Miss Stacy Sims, Dr. Stacy Sims on Mel Robbins' podcast because I love her. She talked about why men, when they cut out alcohol, see like results like that and women don't.
Yes.
She goes, because your body's searching for those calories. And I was like,
oh,
that duh. So I think that when people drink, they don't realize how many extra calories.
no, they have no idea.
Right. So then when you take it away, so it's not even just the alcohol, but the food and like all that. You take it away, and then you also probably are trying to like go into a little cut because you're like, I'm being so good. Your body, as a woman, is like, the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Where are those calories, girl?
I'm hungry.
Like, I'm hungry. You're not giving me those excess that I can kind of feed off of, even though they're empty calories. So what is going on here? So she said, like, when you take away, you need to almost eat more.
Huh.
Yeah. So there you go. So I'm eating more.
Okay.
That's that.
Good.
But yeah, I was like, interesting. Listen, guys, I talked about it, how I did my, kind of maintenance, was in maintenance, then did like a mini cut. I saw my weight go up the highest it's been in the mini cut.
Yeah.
Just not drinking, which is nutsos.
Yeah.
But the other thing I realized, so this weekend, I started going back up in calories. And I gave myself a range. So like 1900 to 2000, 2000 to 2100. Then it'll go up from there. Mark and I were shopping for the car and we walked to Oso. So I worked out, walked to Oso. I had like a yogurt bowl for breakfast. Then we had ahi bowls poke bowls for lunch. But then we got these little ice cream sandwich macaroon things and we shared them. So we had half of each. Then for snack, I had my regular chocolate peanut butter yogurt bowl. And for dinner, what did we do for dinner that night? I don't remember, but we had something relatively easy for dinner. And just tracking that day, no alcohol, nothing, eating foods that were easy to track, it was still like a 2,800 calorie day. Yeah. So I know this, but like how many times as coaches do we not like, oh, I know this, so I don't do it, but then I doing it and I'm like, see, we all need a refresh sometimes because I was like, oh, that's interesting. What did I eat? Oh, okay. So for dinner, we did share a small pizza and some baked wings.
Oh, yeah.
Which ended up being a 1,200 calorie meal. So it was the 3 small slices of pizza, 5 baked wings, half of a chopped salad, and Bolthouse dressing was 1,214 calories.
Yep.
And I put in cheese 12-inch pizza because that's what I ate. And I had 3 slices of it. So it was just funny. It ended up being 2,640 calories that day.
Yep.
So anyway, that's that. What's up with you?
I
finished Love is Blind?
Yes.
I wish you guys could see her face if you're not watching on YouTube.
Yeah, because now you can really see my facial expressions because I can't get Botox.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Stupid.
I was like, Michael made this. He's like, I was like, oh yeah, because I was explaining to him like, okay, so I've only watched the others because this was season 8. Yeah. I was like, so I've only seen season 7 and this is 8. And I said, so obviously there are more seasons before it. And I said, apparently I've been told those are better seasons. And he goes, do we go back and watch all of them? And I was like, no, yes, no. I was like, no, because we will just like get suckered in.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I was like, what the fuck? So that's what I knew. I was gonna ask you because I was like, okay, these girls obviously knew they were not going to say yes at the altar,
Mm-hmm.
but like the whole wedding, like leading up to like when they're in the bridal suite, they were talking like they were going to say yes. So is there like a contract that they have to get to that point
altar.
if they get to like this X point?
I thought they all had to go to the altar, but we saw the people end it beforehand.
Right.
So I thought if you ended it before the altar, you got fined. So maybe they did. I heard that somewhere. I heard there was that contract, but maybe they changed it because they've been getting a lot of like heat because people have been coming out saying that the like working environment there is not great.
Like what? Like
this guy, Nick, he was on, when was Nick on? Maybe the second season. He came out as like, they make us work all through the day. We barely get to eat, I don't know.
Doing what? Talking?
The show.
Oh.
They get paid like nothing. So it's very interesting, but maybe they've changed that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I was like, why would they go to the altar to say no? Why not just let them know beforehand? Like that one guy, Devin with Virginia, like he just like started the mom like ball. I was like, oh my God.
Like it's really sad for him.
I know. And she was sad about it too. But then Sarah, when she dumped Ben, she was like, I'm fine. I'm like, you're not fine.
Right.
Like,
okay, I love avoidant.
Well, yes. And I was like, even like he had like your guys' values have been different from day one. And
I talk about this on Dating Deja Vu.
Like, hello.
Like you ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening, you have to accept the person in front of you. Not who the potential of who they could be or what dating you will change them into. No. Except, can I date this person? If they never changed,
right?
Am I okay with that?
Well, and that's what I was so confused with her about, because I was like, what the fuck? Because even in the pods, he was talking about his religion and how he is very into church and his church that he goes to, he loves and all that. And she didn't go, which I was like, as someone who didn't go and Michael kind of went, even that created not conflict, but just difference of opinions, right? So I was like, okay, this doesn't like, that's not going to work.
Right.
Like you've got to, in my opinion, probably have like an attendance to church to make that work, or at least be like practicing, but like have the habit of it. And I don't mean like church is but like the integration in your life.
Right.
Where she had none. And then when the sister came in, she's like, but you don't like go to church or do anything.
Right.
And I thought the sister and the partner were kind of being assholes at that point. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then as she's talking and she's like not a fan of his church, I was like, okay, but he told you that's the beliefs of them. And then for him to be like, no, I am, but then I don't listen to the message. And she's like, well, I listened to like the sermon and they're not like open to this.
Right.
I was like, what the fuck? Like,
it's a classic case of like, he doesn't want to ruffle feathers.
Yes, he definitely did
people
not.
Pleaser, right? And she doesn't see the red flag in front of her.
You should do a dating deja vu on Dave too.
I did.
Oh, you did?
So I did a whole Love is Blind dating.
Oh, did you?
Obviously, someone doesn't listen to Dating Deja Vu.
No, I don't. Sorry.
It's 20-minute episodes. Well, very easily digestible.
Okay.
Anyway.
But yeah, so I was like, okay, this is weird with the sister.
I agree.
Yeah. Like
it's
put her in like, I have to please her for my life, for all my choices. But my sister just wants me to be happy.
Their mom died. Sister took on a mother role. And he's trying to...
I should send this podcast to Caitlin.
He's trying to live through his sister what he didn't receive from his mom. Yeah, so he's. Okay,
I'll listen to Dating Deja Vu.
Yeah, I don't know if I said all that, but anyway. So I watched this documentary called. Okay, I watched 3 documentaries this weekend.
Okay,
so the first one was Bigorexia. Yeah, so very interesting. Is all about the bodybuilding world. And there were men and women. And first they talked about bodybuilders and how they are so fixated on looking big. And the one guy goes, I want people to remember that monsters are still real. But then he's this little crybaby when someone takes his photo. If he doesn't look big enough, they have to take it again. He's like a little biatch about it.
What is this on Netflix or what?
Yes.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. It's an old documentary, actually.
Oh.
I think it was like 2020. Mark's like, we had to have watched this. I'm like, I don't think we watched that.
You would know.
Yeah. So then it goes into a former like power lifter / bodybuilder who also then transitioned into a woman. So then her struggles now of his when she was a man, identified as a man, he focused on getting big and being strong and like being the biggest guy. He was squatting 1,000 pounds. Okay. Then transitions into a woman and now struggles because this headspace. And I would assume that hyper focus on being more masculine was a way correct to compensate for the fact that
he felt like he needed to be a girl.
Didn't feel right in his body. Right. So now we do make the transition. And now there's this, I'm not as strong and I've always thought to be strong. But I'm also not feminine. I'm trying to be it like that
is a therapist's dream.
Oh yeah. I'm like, bring it on, baby.
I take check, money orders, PayPal.
Yes. So there is that part. So the next part were people who inject synthol.
Okay.
It is a combination of oil, lidocaine, and alcohol. It's injected into the muscle and it'll artificially inflate their size, giving the appearance of increased muscle mass without actual strength. Dude, these people looked crazy. So this one guy puts it into his biceps. His biceps are this big, but he has no grip strength, no delts, no lats. Just these. It looks. Do you
remember his name?
He's from Russia. Looks like 2 fake boobs on his arms, and then another guy in like Guatemala or something literally looked like he had fake boobs and chest because he got bullied. Both of these guys got bullied. It was nutsos. And then they had all these medical issues, obviously.
Yeah.
Because of the synthol. And then it ended with a younger guy who was trying to get his pro card and all the struggles he's had with like showing up on stage and all of the torture that you put your body through to go up on stage and compete only to not place in the top 5. Like,
I'm looking up Craig Goliath.
I don't know.
That's one of them.
No, not him. But yes, that's probably one of them. Let's see.
I mean, come on.
That's actually
like that.
That's one of the guys that was on that show.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, GBT'd.
Yeah, he's the one who can't take a picture without like checking it first.
I could see.
So interesting to look at it that way.
This is so strange.
Yeah, let's see. This is a kid. Okay.
Let me see.
I told you. It almost looks like he has like excess, when someone like loses weight. Yeah. Like what a so it just
so sorry.
Reminds people like these people are treated as gods, some of them in the bodybuilding world. But mentally they're a mess. They are an absolute
you can tell
mess.
just from this guy's Instagram. It's a mess.
He wants to be like a monster. It's like, but
what?
But you cry if you're not if you're too flat, right? What's your end result, right? Exactly. So I watched that, and then I watched another one on this Piper Raquel, which is apparently was like this big YouTube gal and her psycho mom, and they created this like squad of kids where they all lived in the same house and like did YouTubes, and they were making $500,000 a month from this YouTube.
Oh, come on.
And like did just insane shit that this mom did, like trying to like sexualize these kids. It was bad. It was bad. So these momagers, they don't give a fuck. That Piper Raquel girl, I saw her on TikTok. she's 15 or 16 in hypersexualized, like wearing clothes that I probably wouldn't even have worn in my 20s in my hoe phase. Like she's like, look at my clothes. Her mom allegedly sent men her underwear.
Oh, come on.
For money. Like this woman doesn't give a shit. Like she made out with a 17-year-old on camera without the consent. Like it, yeah. So those are some crazy documentaries if y'all want to listen to them.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
See, and that's funny that you bring that up because Piper Raquel has like a boyfriend now.
Well, all of the boys are considered crushes because if you have a crush and you put that on YouTube, you get more following. Maybe we should put crush
on YouTube. Okay, well, all the boys, she has a crush on this kid. Anyway, so it's funny that you say that because she's hip thrusting. Her top 3 glute makers as a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh,
let me see.
Wait, hang on. Gym is number 1. She's doing hip thrusts and Bulgarian split squats. Track food with Calais. Okay. Wow.
Oh my God. Oh, so she's
a fitness influencer.
Sleep.
I can't wait till we do that episode.
Oh my God.
I know. You have to be kidding me.
I can't.
This is one of the things that I want to talk about for our Annie.
Okay.
But it's funny that you bring that up because somehow this family popped up on my Instagram and it's like she post-op 5 days for my mommy makeover. And it's her and her husband doing all these stupid TikTok dances.
Yeah.
And then they bring the kids into it. And I'm like, why are you bringing your kids into your like influencer business?
Oh, like they all do it.
Because even today, like I filmed a video with Olivia of like me working out and I thought like, I don't know if I want her, like, do I want her present in all my videos? Like she's present on my YouTube and Instagram. And I don't know why, because then I thought like, I don't know why TikTok is a different like consideration, and I'm like, but do I really like want her like as a feature in what I'm doing?
I think there's a difference between like forcing them to act.
Yes. As opposed to like, she's just sitting in a carrier. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Cause that's, I was like, what?
Well,
like,
there's not a lot of, I think, what was it? New Mexico, maybe is like the only state that has laws so there's laws for kids. If you're in like acting or music, that your parents have to put a percentage of your earnings into a trust. So you get it at 18, but that does not apply to these kids on YouTube or TikTok.
Wow.
So these moms or dads, but mainly moms,
they Macaulay Culkin it?
Yes, Macaulay Culkin the shit out of them. I think it's called the Culkin
syndrome or something.
No, like the actual law is
really?
Something with the C.
Huh.
So yeah, it's sad. The way that they like there's a bunch, you just watch it.
Yeah.
You should watch it. So with all that said, I think we now segue into the episode. So talk about the symptoms.
Okay. Symptoms to be specific: irritability, fatigue in your body, in your mind, in your sleep, poor recovery. So excessive soreness, right? You have broken bones, but you don't have
broken your bones.
Yeah, but like you're excessively sore, you're excessively injured. If you have an injury, you just got over an injury, now you have another injury. Mood swings. So maybe like quick and sharp with your significant other or your kids or whomever. Yeah. Low motivation. What do we do? Low libido. Ooh, that's another one.
A plateau. Right. Just not say that you
not getting stronger. You're not losing weight.
Yep.
Or you're not gaining strength.
Yeah. We see this so much in clients. I see it in myself, to be honest with you, because, the clients that we work with they wear so many hats. They are high achievers. They're moms. They are in high stress phases of their life. That's something I've dealt with. And oftentimes, especially in media today, it's kind of like, oh, it's your hormones, it's your hormones, it's your hormones.
It's your cortisol.
Right. Well,
like, stop.
Actually, that's what we're talking about.
Well, but what I mean is like they ticket, it's your cortisol. Like that will solve everything. Just lower your cortisol, but in like buy this pill or this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
about. No. Like, it's like, they say, like, I'm the cortisol guru and all that shit. And it's like, okay, but.
Well, and they're just, I think the point you just made is they're going to say it's your hormones, whether that, because cortisol is a hormone, right? But they'll say, take these supplements.
Yes.
When what we're going to talk about is changing your lifestyle. You know, I hear this all the time, especially being in perimenopause. It's like, well, I followed this gal who every day it's some sort of meme about being 40 and not seeing progress, weight gain, blah, blah, blah. And it's bothersome to me because, you know, there's so many changes that someone can make that they don't even realize will help them in perimenopause, which lifestyle and not creating this burnout is number one.
Yeah.
Because again, once we get in, perimenopause hits us at a time where we don't realize there's so many other fucking things happening. And we're just like, oh, it's perimenopause. No, babe. I'm going to use myself. My dad is literally fighting for his fucking life. I've lost my dog. I'm trying to build a business. We have the podcast. Like we have trying to become sober. Like,
and have a relationship. And my mom stresses me out. And then I've got to communicate with my significant other and work out and get my steps in.
And try to go
and train a new dog.
Train a new dog. Right. Thank you. I don't even have kids. And I'm like, right. And it just so happens to be happening at 42, where then also I actually have issues with hormones, but for me, I'm controlling the controllables, which is what we're going to talk about. That's not leading me to burnout, even if my hormones are changing, which we're not talking about both, but anyways.
We have other episodes, but even so, taking it from my perspective, I see this a lot with postpartum or people who are having trouble conceiving. And this is not a knock on, and this is not to say you can't conceive and that's your fault, but it's more so of like, there's so much going on. They're like, I don't know, it's my hormones. And I'm like, so, you know, they're quick to wanting to like get on. I've heard this before, get on birth control to regulate their like cycle and whatnot, which I'm like, maybe, but no. Or like, maybe like, I just don't know, like for fertility, like I don't know my cycle and it comes so irregular and it's short and long. And then postpartum, like I'm just not losing the postpartum weight. My sleep is really shit. Like I know it's just my hormones and it's just the baby. And it's like, again, maybe, but there's also a lot of other controllables that we can do to help rule out the possibility that it's simply you need testosterone or estrogen or progesterone.
Right. So burnout. Okay. So what ends up happening is our nervous system goes into overload, right? So chronic stress. So the difference between acute stress is like, you made me mad. I don't like that. I get angry. It resolves once I express myself and then I come back down to a calm, grounded place. Where chronic stress is I'm constantly angry because I have unresolved trauma, unresolved emotions that just keep building and building and building, that our bodies never get to go into that calm place. So if you just think about the system, it's not working properly. And when we're in that heightened nervous system, our hormones that are supposed to be there to help us run away from the bear or fight the bear. I always say the bear, and I'm like, well, I think about these coyotes that were walking the other day, and I was like, oh, there's my nervous system. Run away from the coyotes, dude. And I was like, or fight them.
So I know exactly where it's because I was talking to my mom about this, like, because it's a feeling. So when I'm laying in bed and I have the baby monitor off, but I can hear her through the wall. And like, as soon as you hear the baby, it's like something in your body, like just jolts. And I'm like, and it's odd because I'm like, oh, wow, that's a really weird feeling. Like as I'm laying there, like it's just this hearing sensation, you know, and you're like, oh, jolt.
Yeah. It's how we're designed.
Yes.
So our bodies are not used to chronic stress. So our HPA axis is a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is where all of our basically our hypothalamus is our like mothership or the nucleus, and then you have your pituitary gland that affects your adrenal gland, and there's a variety of different axes that happens. But what ends up happening is it becomes dysfunctional. Like I said, the system isn't working in the way. It's not going up and then coming back down. What ends up happening is a nervous system overload, right? And the load comes from mental load, emotional load, but then we also are doing things that aren't taking care of us that then create a physiological load. So that's when we see not recovering, right? Not sleeping, not taking time between workouts. That's a choice you have to make. Hey, YouTube, today's giveaway, yes, we're starting this, is the Self-Mastery Method, which is a self-led program on my mindset method. All you have to do is comment below on this podcast, and we are going to randomly select the winner, and you will get access to that program for 4 months and be able to work through the entire method and join along with all that we do. Now, back to the show. I saw something on Instagram the other day. She goes, you know what I've never done that I do now is rest between single-sided exercise.
Oh,
I don't do that.
Me either.
You don't take into consideration that when you're working into the evening or late night and then waking up early, like that's an issue.
Yeah.
That's a choice, right? You're not eating enough because you're so stressed that you can't possibly eat. And that's a stress.
Or
that's
you're not taking the time to eat. Too.
Right. Or preparing or planning.
Yeah.
That causes issues, obviously, with blood sugar. You're not expressing yourself. You're not setting boundaries in these areas. And this applies to me so much. Then what are we doing? We're overloading on stimulants, right? Caffeine, coffee,
nicotine,
screen time, nicotine. Listen, nicotine's a motherfucker.
People like it.
People use it for clarity. They'll put a patch on now. Yeah. Listen, I'm not opposed to it. I kicked that habit, and that's a hard one because it is so like, woo!
Yeah.
You know?
No, thank you.
And then this is repeated over and over again. So the body, so we have the stress, we might have chronic stress, and then we're putting more stress on us through this lifestyle. So eventually because we're always on, we're never off, we burn out.
Yep.
It's like a light bulb.
Yep.
You kind of, if it's on
all the time,
that motherfucker's going to burn out. And that is you. Whereas talk about what a hormonal imbalance would look like.
So sometimes what you see is like a thyroid imbalance, your estrogen, progesterone, like the Dutch test is one. And so that's hit and miss for some providers. But that includes your estrogen, your progesterone, your like estradiol, your cortisol is on there too. And with the cortisol, you'll see it like kind of spike in the evening, whereas you want to spike in the morning and then taper off. And for those that don't know, the Dutch test is like you pee on this thing, I think 5 times in the day.
I don't remember.
It's 5+ times in the day. And then you submit it and then they run your hormones based off of the pee. And so you could see elevated levels of your hormones. You could see decreased levels of your hormones and testosterone too. So like even that for women, like if there's not enough testosterone, women need testosterone, that could impact your training, and it could also impact your mood and your libido. So thinking of all these things, but you know, a lot of people go, oh, I'm going into menopause, therefore my estrogen is off and whatnot. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you're not eating, you're getting your inconsistent sleep, and then you're drinking. And again, if you want to drink. Like I'm not a coach that says like we have to be sober, but just realize those all have an impact.
Right. And I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about something that we talked about here about the Cortisol Steal, where your body through cholesterol creates pregnenolone. Pregnenolone then creates progesterone. Progesterone then will help to create the other anabolic hormones. So you have like DHEA, estrogen, testosterone. And then, but when have this emotional load on us, what ends up happening is more cortisol needs to be produced. So it steals from is it pregnenolone or progesterone? I might get this wrong. I'll put a sheet in the show notes so that you guys can see the actual
system.
It's almost like a map. So it steals from pregnenolone or progesterone, which then takes from the production of some of your hormones. When the problem isn't that you have low estrogen, the problem is that your loads are so heavy that your cortisol is so high that it's taking away from the production of that. Whereas if we reduce the need for cortisol, then we reduce that low production of those hormones. And so just to reiterate the signs it might be burnout. So we've already touched on them. Are you training too much?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you 6-7 days a week? And by training, guys, I'm not just talking about going into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had clients be like, well, I was watching this girl's thing on Pilates about what her body composition changed by adding Pilates. But then she was like, oh, I do Pilates twice a week. And then I strength train 3 to 4 times a week. And I'm still doing my runs.
God.
Right. And I'm like, the fuck? That would be overtraining, right? Or say that you are only training 5 days a week or 4 days a week, but your recovery stinks. You're super sore. Your joints hurt. Obviously you're not sleeping. Thinking about, has that been happening to me? Whereas in my 20s, I could do the 6-7 days a week and be fine, get up, go to the gym and be great. But now I'm not. The next one is called tired and wired, which I already kind of touched on. You touched on this with hormones, where you want to go to sleep at night, but your brain isn't stopping. It's not calming down because you're thinking about all the things, all the load, right? That load is like right in front of you. This is the first time you've actually sat down to process the day. But because you had so much stimuli because of the load of emotional, physical, mental, your brain is like, it's just trying to make sense of everything. So you want to go to bed, but you can't go to bed.
Well, and even what doesn't help that is the caffeine intake too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
But it's like, you'll see, like I wake up, I have to have my cup of coffee to wake up. And it's like, okay, but okay. And then I've got to have my 11 o'clock coffee. Well, then I got to have my 2 o'clock because that gets me through the day. And it's like,
or energy drink.
Yeah. Or an energy drink even too. And you have to realize like that caffeine, you need more and more and more over time, just like nicotine. You need more and more and more over time. And so then your body is going to acclimate to that. And then also that's going to impact your sleep, right? Because now your, what is it called? Melatonin is not kicking in,
right? Like
when it should.
Exactly.
Or your adena, is adena something? I forget. There's a word that pops in. It starts with an A. And that actually gets delayed when you take caffeine. So then that gets pushed out. So considering all of that, like, are you tired and wired too? Because you've been drinking, essentially 5 cups of coffee the whole day.
Well, and I think caffeine goes into the next point because when you are burnt out, you're just you're not inspired, you're numb, you're kind of disconnected, right? You don't want to do anything. Whereas I think when it's hormones, that's not necessarily, that could be the case, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
You're kind of, it's not analysis paralysis. It's just overdoing paralysis. It's toxic resilience. Oh, we have a name for that, right?
And an episode.
Check it out.
And a talk coming up.
Yes. And a conversation in person. We can put that in the show notes. Might as well. So you're using that caffeine because you're thinking, oh, I have writer's block or whatever block. I'll just drink a cup of coffee or take an energy drink. And that's what you think is going to help you. But really every area of your life just feels so heavy. It feels hard. I know this so fucking much. I have been here, felt so numb. Remind me to come back to that. But let's talk about the signs of hormone imbalance specifically.
Yeah. And I think so. One thing to circle back to is hormone imbalance. I would say all of the things are controlled. Like your training is appropriate for where you're at. Your nutrition is appropriate for where you're at. Your sleep is, pretty locked in, is like there's a healthy sleep hygiene. The hormones is when those things are taken care of, and then there's still some irregularities. So for example, your cycle is irregular. And even that could be from when you get your period to when you ovulate, or the whole cycle from period to period is irregular. Painful, like extreme pain for your period. That's not normal. That should not be accepted.
It's socially accepted. But
yes, but it's not.
Normal.
And so, or even if you skip your period, so maybe it comes every other month, well, not every other month consistently, but you skip this one, there's no chance you should be pregnant. Like that's something that should be raising a red flag for you that you need to intervene sooner than later.
I would say, have you gone off of birth control in the past, 3-6 months? You can actually, there's a such thing as post-birth control PCOS, right?
Yeah.
If it's something thyroid, some of the signs for thyroid issues, my mom had thyroid cancer, cold hands, cold feet, brittle nails, sluggish metabolism.
I would say just like sluggish mentally too.
I was going to say
lack of clarity.
Maybe that's what's wrong with me.
It could be
sudden unexplained weight gain or weight loss, right? And obviously doing labs and being able to see what's going on. Now there's pros and cons of lab work. you have like the lab work I did was what was going on in my body in basically that period of time when I looked at my hormones. Whereas a Dutch test is nice because it kind of, I believe,
throughout the day,
but it's also throughout the cycle.
So you have to do it on a specific cycle day to get it correct.
Okay. Because I remember there are certain tests. Maybe we should have maybe we should have Coach Laura come on and talk about like what's the best test.
She should come on and talk about the different tests and like what
we're going to do that for you. So lab work though can still be good insights. Like I do know like my estrogen and my luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone are in the perimenopause.
Well, and even say like your hormones are considered normal, like that might not be normal for you too, because there's that too, like, because they have the range when you look at the results, like just because it falls within normal, like even you could say like the scale is 0 to 10, right? And like 0 that's the normal range, but you fall on like 1, right? Like that could be a sign that it's going to -1,
right?
Or something like that. Like that's not okay just because it falls within normal, or like even it goes to 9, 10. Like that doesn't mean, oh, it's even better because it's more. Like you may not need more.
Correct. Yeah. So I want to talk about my experience and kind of what you can do.
Okay.
So again, I would say since December, life has been giving me a lot of challenges, right? So lost my dog. Obviously my dad's cancer is kicking his ass. All the other stressors stayed relatively the same. I would say the friendship stuff that kind of played out through the year, I got a little bit more understanding around that. So then now there's this stress of, do I keep this relationship or not? But the business stressors, my relationship stressors, getting a new dog, having a puppy. I mean, today Harlem chucked the shit out of her. Yeah. And it's so they're hilarious, but it's still scary. Like I don't want Harlem to bite her. She will bite her because I'm not worried about Liberty. Liberty's scared to death of Harlem, but she doesn't understand her boundaries and I want them to get along. So anyways, and you brought up a good point, like trying to do this stuff with my dad with another parent who is emotionally immature, right? Having a sister who probably knows too much in this area, who gives me the facts of like timelines and shit, and like knowing based on my sister, my dad doesn't have but months to live.
Yeah.
And dealing with that stress, right? I felt numb. I felt everything at once. I think I said this. Did I tell you about what I read? Oh, maybe I didn't. I read, you're not numb. You're feeling everything that feels numb, but your body knows your emotions, but when it feels them all at once, it doesn't know what to do. And that's what I felt. And so for me, some of the things that we're going to encourage people to do, I was already doing, but I pulled back on my training. Now, pulling back on my training is actually doing more days of training for a shorter amount of time. Okay. Whereas you can take
5 days,
5 days and go to 3, right? I pull back on that. I am going to eat in a surplus because I need it. It's funny eating. I've even seen eating in a deficit it's not really doing anything right now. So let's just give my body the energy to handle all the load. Having a routine is incredibly important. And I want to go into that routine every morning. I wake up at 4 to do this. Now I don't have kids and people are going to say, oh, well, you don't have kids. Are your kids up at 4?
Hang on. I have a kid.
Right.
And I go to bed at 7.
Right.
So yeah. And I wake up around 4 to 5.
And I know then that like toddler, probably all the way up to elementary, it's going to be different. It
just changes, but still.
But I still wake up at 4. And your kids are probably not up at 4. And what I'm saying is I take time to start my day for myself. I don't have Mark come out. I don't want anyone there.
Yeah.
I do my planner, which is like also gratitude list, has affirmations, plans my day, whatever. I journal and I read from my little book. The other thing that I started doing is going to church because I felt so numb that whenever I feel numb like that, I know I'm not spiritually connected. So I watched the one episode. I watched the one live stream, and it's a church actually by Modern Milk.
Oh, really? Impact.
Yeah, Impact. Then Mark I said, do you want to watch church with me? And he didn't really give me an answer. And the day of, he's like, do you want me to watch church with you? And I said, if you want to, I'm not going to force that. He's like, I will if you want me to. So we watched it. And unfortunately, the pastor of that church, the first one I watched was not this pastor. And then the guy, and I was like, this is too much. This is like down your throat. So Amy, one of our listeners, one of my former clients. Yep. I went back to the Florida one, and he's like, this is better. So I looked at, number one, I recognized that I was numb, right? I recognized, well, I thought I've said this before, it's the best example. So I've said this once, I'll say it again. I thought I was the Tin Man, but I can go through all this, not burn out, be relatively unscathed, but I was the cowardly lion. I was avoiding. And when I've felt that before in my life, I know the things that I've done, being spiritually connected, having that time for myself at the beginning of the day. I also at the end of the day, because the Panda planner at the bottom, it says, what are your wins for the day? What could you do better? Or something like that. So you fill it out at the end of the day too. That has helped me tremendously, on top of setting boundaries with my mom. Unfortunately, it's at the expense of my time I get to spend with my dad, which I don't love. But also then, because I want to spend more time with my dad, I also have to set boundaries in my brain so that I'm trying to walk in without any perceptions of how it's going to be and just let it be and take care of myself. So if I don't have that, I'm going to, who knows where I'd be right now. Also, a lot of people, they're not doing the things that I'm talking about, and they think, oh, well, it's just my hormones. It's like, no, you're fucking burnt out. Yeah. So that's just my experience that I wanted to share, and just some of the things I did. So let's kind of break that down for our listeners of things that they can do.
Yeah. So you talked about like dialing back exercise and movement. So even like for the person that only works out twice a week, that could be too much for where they're at right now. Right. And so even thinking of like, okay, do I dial back the amount of days, or do I change what I'm doing on those days if I have that consistency and I don't want to lose it? So we can say, okay, instead of doing strength training 5 days a week for like a split program, hopefully, if that's what you're doing on those 5 days, maybe changing one of the days out and doing more of a restorative thing, or even going to 3 days full body. And then the other 2 days that you were doing something, maybe we're just going for a walk. Maybe we're doing a meditation. Maybe we're going to like a sound garden or something like that, or sound bath, whatever with the bowls. So, and even that time, you can use that time to focus on yourself, but manage the stress, do an audit on it, see where it's coming from, see what you can kind of release. So like, for example, you releasing the emotional toll your mother takes on you, right? And just kind of going, I don't have to have that in me. Like if I'm going to go and see my dad.
Right.
And so setting that boundary, and instead of thinking of like, okay, how do I deal with mom? It's like, oh, I just don't deal with mom, you know, and that you could say, well, isn't that numbing out? And it's like, no, it's taking care of myself.
Right.
Like I don't have to engage with her and make sure she's okay and entertain her, because my focus is on my dad, and the relationship I have with her is what is.
Right.
And that's just an example. So just evaluating that mental and emotional load, as well as the physical, like we talked about.
One thing I want to add there is something I do with clients is I have them just take a piece of paper, and I have them, so the things that are taking up more of the load, they'll write whatever it is in larger font or print. And then the other things surround that. So it could be 2 big things. It could be all big things. And like, they just cover the paper, and it's just like, look at like everything you're dealing with.
Happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a lot of those larger fonts, right? Like that's a big deal. Like these big situations that you're dealing with all at once. So sometimes just like sitting down, like you said, writing it out, auditing it, even if it's just like career change, moving a house, moving to a new house,
so-and-so soccer,
ailing, kids, traveling, soccer, whatever it is, write it all down. Just put it in front of you and see like, wow, I might be burnt out.
Yeah.
So it might be time to scale back. And And when we scale back, what we're not scaling back on is what we our food
right?
intake.
Because that's going to be a question. So since I'm doing less, should I eat less? And the actual answer is no, you should probably be eating more and making sure. So again, for example, I'm glad that you shared that because it's a good example of like, okay, this is what someone is actually doing. Of I have all these stressors. I'm getting this red line of burnout. And so instead of trying to maybe control my weight even more, my body even more, I'm going to actually relax and redefine and kind of go back to maintenance and find that homeostasis place.
Well, and I want to say something about stress that we will talk about in a future episode is like, you remember your body is designed to tell you when you're hungry and you're full. If right now I was trying to tell my body what it doesn't naturally want, that is a stress.
Yeah.
Right. So by being able to give my body the amount of calories that it needs, and also something we haven't talked about, asking myself, what would satisfy me right now? Eating in a way that is satisfying to me. And when you do that, when you are listening to your body and working with it rather than against it, again, more stress, it's not going to always be cakes and cookies.
Right.
You will actually see that you really do enjoy, proteins and rice and veggies and that. So it's not even that. It's not even just eating enough, but listening to my body and really trying to be here for it. Because all this nervous system shit that it is my brain, but it's my body. They're not separate.
Yeah.
And I have to do what's best for it, for the entire package, right? Rather than,
segmentalizing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we tend to do. And of course, when things are out of our control, the easiest thing is to try to control the thing we've been trying to control our whole lives that actually just creates more burnout and stress, which is our body. So just want to put that. So I think that's good.
Well, we need to talk about if you suspect it's hormone imbalance.
Go ahead.
So if you think it's a hormone imbalance, and now again, your nutrition is at least at maintenance plus, training schedule is appropriate for you. We've assessed kind of our controllables, mental, physical, and emotional.
So sleep, rest, recovery, stress management.
So the first thing I always tell my clients when maybe you're thinking about getting pregnant, you're trying to get pregnant, maybe postpartum, you're trying to make sure you don't get pregnant. If you've gotten your cycle back, is to track your cycle. And even
can I add something to that?
Sure.
If you're having pain or you're having, weird spotting or like constant spotting.
Yes.
I know you would think that's your cycle. It's not your cycle.
Track it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like pain, like a scale of 1 to 5, a pain of like, okay, is it like ovulation pain? Is it period pain? How long does it last? Am I impacted on my to-do activities? Because if you can't do activities when you get your period, we've got something else going on that we need to address.
Yeah.
So considering that, and even like perimenopause, like you can say, my cycle's irregular. Well, track it. Because as we talked about with Dr. Lee Lewis, if you all of a sudden have a change in symptoms that's abnormal from your normal stuff, that's something to be alert about.
Correct.
That's something to seek help for.
And if you're younger, start this shit now.
Yeah.
Start it now. I would even get your hormones tested now while you're healthy.
Have a baseline and start tracking now. Because even so, if you're younger and you're like thinking about getting pregnant one day, well, you're going to have to get off birth control at some point. So, and this is assuming someone is not on birth control, but even knowing like which birth controls, like they say, you get off it and then you can get pregnant pretty quickly. That's not true. Like, and actually Natalie Crawford was on Dr. Huberman. And that's one of my episodes that I always recommend in my Mindset of Mommies group of like, she talks about like, it can take like some of these not medications, but birth control options. It can take years for your cycle to come back in a regular cycle. And if you're not prepared for that and you're thinking, I'm just not getting pregnant, like that's something we need to talk about and prepare you for. Because if you don't want to get pregnant in years, but you're on one of the options that will take years to potentially regulate your cycle, you might consider getting off sooner than later.
Yeah.
So going sidebar that, but coming back to get, like you said, blood work, Dutch tests, saliva tests, and going and following up with a provider that knows that and isn't just ordering it to order it.
And be careful too, because my doctor, because my mom had thyroid cancer, told me, well, we always test your TSH. I'm like, no, I said a full thyroid panel is X, Y, and Z. So it's your T3, T4.
Everything.
Right. And he just looked at me and I was like, goodbye. That's when I ended up moving to Tia.
Yeah.
Right. So we will have Coach Laura on to talk about that.
I think that's a great idea.
episode. And then, work with practitioners who are not just trying to sling you supplements. I think that's a huge one. Be careful, you guys. I've had many clients get duped into this shit thinking that life is going to change. Life does not change. And also just remember, like, when you're going in to focus on hormones, what I don't want you to be thinking about is this is that weight loss is the goal. It's much more than that. It's just living the rest of your days in a more comfortable place, in a new place, because your body is changing. We need to accept that change and adjust and adapt to that change. But I think a lot of people go into these hormone clinics.
I had an experience with that
and think I'm just going to lose. Yeah. This is for weight loss.
I was for the not to weight loss, but I was going and seeing a provider, and every time I talked to her, it was like, did you even read your notes? Like I just felt like she didn't read her notes on what we talked about last. So half the appointment, and mind you, this was a cash-based office. So I was paying a lot of fucking money for her to not read her notes. And it really irritated me because I was waste half the appointment going over that. Then she would recommend a bunch of stuff. Okay, I'd start taking it. Nothing changed. Okay, let's order a Dutch test. Did the Dutch test. All my hormones were low, right? And so I was like, why is that happening? And she's like, I honestly don't know. Will you track your calories? So I tracked my calories for her at that time. Again, had the follow-up appointment. She's like, so, what are you typically eating? I'm like, I tracked all my calories for you. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
And so that's actually, I ended up calling Lee Lewis after I'd gotten off the phone with her, because I was like, and because she was very open. She's like, honestly, like, I don't really pay attention to Dutch test. And so you have some providers that are really into it and some are not.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, and that's what works for them. And some providers who go off the blood work, some who just say blood work's great, but let's talk about your symptoms and treat based on that.
Which is huge.
Yes. And so that's where I had two totally different experiences. And the doctor I work with now, she is kind of the intersection between the naturopath and like your standard American physician. And so it's really important that you advocate for yourself. Like if you get that ick, if you feel like you walked away getting more supplements, because like the first doctor, she's like, I had like NAD, I did like, and melatonin, or what's it called? Not melatonin, the magnesium. And then there was like 3 other supplements. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I look like I'm at a pharmacy here and I'm in pretty good health. Yeah. So just, if you feel what the fuck, like you did afterwards, or like, okay, why isn't they like, I'm advocating for myself. And what's it to them if this doctor ordered a full thyroid panel?
Right.
What's it to him?
Probably more money, dummy.
Yeah. So
it doesn't know how to read it.
Well, but even it tells you on there,
right?
Like throw it in ChatGPT.
Right. And what do I do?
Yeah.
So good.
Okay.
So be thinking about that, guys. Be thinking about, okay, I think what the biggest takeaway here is, are these other things in alignment? And getting them in alignment, like creating whatever approach to managing your food intake, managing your exercise, managing your emotional, physical, and mental load. Do that first. Do that for 3 to 6 months, right? Unless your symptoms are so severe that you need to go see someone, obviously go see someone.
Yes.
Do over 3 to 6 months. See if some of these things, whether that's weight gain or if the brain fog, if they calm down or they lessen. If they lessen, great sign, keep going. If nothing changes, then that's where we can bring in a practitioner and look at a hormone. So good. Awesome. If you like this information, please share it with someone that you think would benefit from understanding burnout versus hormonal imbalance. We'd love a 5-star rating and review if you want to be generous today. Today's a good day to be generous, don't you think?
Sure.
Yeah. If you have any questions about this, we'd love a comment. Don't forget, for those of you commenting on YouTube, we are giving away a free self-mastery method. Woo! So comment away. Please make the comments obviously
appropriate.
And appropriate. I used to say that in my teen body image groups. I'm like, inappropriate. And relevant to the information. And other than that, we want to leave you with this one last thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see with the mirror.
Goodbye.
You see with the mirror is what I said.
In the mirror.
Or with it. Bye.
Yeah.